Let's bring in political historian Rich Rubino and the executive director of America First Works, Ashley Hayek. Rich, I want to come to you. Jim Jordan won that internal conference vote on Friday. Now it's been reported that there are a number of members of the House Appropriations Committee and a couple of other committees that appear on track to block him from getting the gavel. What sort of kind of started out as a political stunt by Matt Gaetz spectacularly backfired on Republicans here? Or if they can get themselves under control over the next couple of days, they still have the opportunity to sort of change perceptions and drive an agenda going into 2024 to help maintain their majority?
I mean, there's some truth to that, and certainly this is certainly in politics. What's happened in 2023 won't necessarily be that relevant around the 2024 presidential elections. But that being said, there are 18 members of the House of Representatives who are Republicans who represent congressional districts that were won by Joe Biden, and they're in this kind of unenviable position of choosing between conservatives and then having to go back to their congressional districts and say why they voted for someone like Jim Jordan, or for that matter, someone like Steve Scalise. They'd rather this just be ended right now. And I think that Republicans in general, usually if you're seen as kind of this internecine warfare and that's taking up the headlines versus what the Republicans would want to be talking about, right, that's obviously going to have deleterious effects.
Yeah, and look, some good news for Republicans, Ashley. Republicans in Louisiana actually had a good night last night. Republican gubernatorial candidate and Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry defeated Democrat Sean Wilson, flipping the governor's mansion red. Is this a sign that the pendulum is starting to swing back, that this is kind of the Biden effect of his numbers and him being as historically weak as he is, and people motivated to change the direction of their states, and Republicans picking up some seats here?
Absolutely. And, one of the people who was on the forefront of fighting to expose all of the corruption of the Biden administration and Joe Biden and his son Hunter was Jim Jordan. That's why Jim Jordan is liked by both conservatives and moderates. And I will say that if you are one of those congressional members who are in one of those purple seats, the reason you are there is because you were able to get people who agree with the America First policies that they missed from the previous administration. President Trump has supported Jim Jordan. Conservatives love him. Grassroots love him. He works well with moderates. We don't have 15 votes to go back and forth on this. I'm hoping that he has the votes, the 217 that he needs for a floor vote on Monday or Tuesday, so Americans can get back to business the way that it should be.
Rich, I want to shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about the Republican presidential primary, and I want to get your take on a new poll that shows Nikki Haley leading President Biden 49 to 43% in a hypothetical matchup. That's more than Trump, who holds a slim 47 to 46% lead, or DeSantis, who's statistically tied with Biden. We've been talking, Rich, about this field starting to narrow. When is that going to happen? What does that look like? Haley seems to have some momentum here over the last month. Her numbers have been trending up. How do you see it? Do you see that this is really becoming a three-person race at this point, and will we see somebody maybe start to drop out here over the next month or 2 months?
Yeah, you'll probably see minor candidates drop out like Will Hurd did recently, but nobody who actually has a legitimate chance. No, I think what almost invariably happens is toward the last few weeks of the campaign, somebody rises, like John Edwards did, for example, in 2004. He was at about single digits. All of a sudden, the last few weeks, he rose and came in second place in Iowa and eventually became John Edwards' running mate. There's going to be somebody like that right now. The question is, will Ron DeSantis be able to be the comeback kid like Clinton was in '92 and come back? Because he was obviously on par with Donald Trump at one point. So that's one question. And will it be somebody else? Will somebody like Tim Scott? Will there be some sort of a dark horse? Will all the Republican voters who potentially are dissatisfied with the major candidates look to somebody else? That usually happens in a presidential election. So I don't think it's over, but I do think, though, you'll see some of the potential minor candidates dropping on it, unless some of them are just in the race to try to send a message or prove a point rather than actually having a legitimate chance or thinking they have a legitimate chance.
All right. We are short on time because of our war coverage, but we appreciate both of you making some time for us here this Sunday on Newsmax. Rich Rubino and Ashley.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.